Hello and good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv. We are live once again. Perhaps this is week 8, week 7, I can't remember anymore. I used to track this day by day, moment by moment, but now we're just in the middle of it. And we're trying to cross the stream as best we can. It's a foggy day here on the East Coast. Hard to see out the window. But it's also very romantic and a little bit scary, so it's a good theme for what we're trying to do today. Several updates for you. We are rolling right along, doing the best we can. We used to have a merch store located at bolesbooks.org. And in the rebranding of what we're trying to do here, we have changed that URL from bolesbooks.org, which is very long to spell, /merch, to something a little easier to remember. And I'll show that to you right now. We now use bolesbuy.com. Whammo. Takes you right to the merch store. Well, it takes us to our, I guess this is our, I don't know, donation page. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what this is going on. Oh, this is talking to me, I guess. Stream. Well, I wonder what this is doing. This is interesting. This is supposed to be our live stream on our landing page. I guess that's what they call it on Streamlabs. So this is us, Boles.tv. What's going to happen in 6 seconds? I'm very curious. Are we going to go live, or are we going to get an advertisement? I don't know. Oh, there we are. We're live and in person. So that's good. So then you go up here and click on merch, and it's our merch store. So now our URL is bolesbuy.com/merch. And as you scroll down the page, you can see lovely shirts. And you can see the lovely shirt that I am wearing right now, which is now part of our merch store. It's the stacked logo of Boles.tv. Welcome. And this is a light pink. It looks slightly white, slightly dingy. That's okay. I've always looked good in pink. Pink, I don't know, makes my white face look human. But I will tell you, growing up in the Midwest in the 80s, wearing pink, bright pink, could get you in a little bit of trouble. Because they think that pink belongs to girls and boys can't wear pink. And then Miami Vice came out and Don Johnson was wearing pink and everything was fine. So it's interesting how things change, but I always wore pink because I knew that it helped me look a little more human and not like the terrible ghost that I believe that I am today. So this is what I'm wearing here, the stacked logo. It's a little easier to read for me than that's the real pink. That's what it's supposed to look like, and it looks like that in person, but not on this live stream. Now, some people said when I made this change from bolesbooks.org to bolesbuy.com, why Boles Buy? That sounds like Best Buy. And I said, well, when you're branding something, you want it to be memorable. And all of my major domain names, Boles.com, Boles TV, Boles Blogs, Boles Books, Boles Bells, all start with Boles. I do agree that Buy Boles is perhaps a little easier to say, but it doesn't look as good when it's written. But if you insist, buyboles.com goes right back to bolesbuy.com. So you can use either one you like. That's the way we run around here. You make the decisions. I provide the choices. It's the only way to fly. You may also notice, did a lot of work this weekend. You may also notice our new little logo things that say Boles.com and then they slide, and then those have been updated. They're slightly more funky, Same sort of color scheme we had before, but the Boles by, as you can see now, .com/merch has been updated. Boles.tv has been updated. It's all been updated. Lots of big changes going around. The music, the streaming music you may be listening to right now. Yes? Oh, it sounds good. Well, what I finally did over the weekend, in week 8 of this live stream, is I sat down and I went through not 50,000 songs on slip.stream, but categories, genres of music that I thought would be appropriate for this live stream. Because the way that Mac runs audio, you can't really have individual mixers. You just have one volume for everything. So you try to turn down the music and speak over the music, and you need some music to cover the background noise in the big city. Well, some songs, if they have a lot of piano, a lot of drum, any kind of brass, like a trumpet, and it's quick, it tends to be a little bit loud and overpowers me speaking. And some people have mentioned that and made complaints about that. Not complaints, but said, hey, the music's too loud. So I go in there and I change the music. Okay, that's fine. I do too. So what I decided to do was to go through and listen to songs that I thought would be appropriate as the bed, the music bed for this live stream. And then I added them to a new playlist called Boles.tv. So I listened to about snippets of 1,500 songs over 2 days, added about 86. And let's say the average song on Slipstream is short, like most of them are a minute and a half, some are 3 minutes. So if it's like a couple of minutes, that gives us enough new music, we hope, to cover this live stream. And it will always repeat, so if we just keep going on, the music should just keep repeating with us. So that's wonderful, win-win, and then win again. We also have a new name for our bot, our moderation bot, which I'll make it say hi right now. Okay, it's Boles Bot. Now that bot used to be called Boles Brand. So you'd see bop, 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 all these things that pop up. Like if I type quote, it's supposed to be my bot that shows up, not the Streamlabs bot. Well, let's see what happens. Nope, that didn't work. I wasn't in the proper place. Okay, there it is. Boles Bot. Quote, the voice of the prairie is found in the throats of those who dared to yell into the abyss of the West. Okay, that's a new one. We haven't heard that one. That's Boles Bot. Now, why did I rename Boles Brand to Boles Bot? Because Boles Brand was not exactly clear. Boles Bot is better because when people see that, they know that it is a bot and not a real person. It is linked to my Streamlabs account and the Streamlabs moderation bot, so Boles Bot is a bot that also moderates. Now, this might be too much information for you, I don't know, but this is part of what we try to do here. And you can hear sirens in the background. It's going to be a busy day in the big city. Now, here's another thing that we're talking about. Jana Marie changed her username. She used to be Jana Books. And that was fun because Jana Books, Boles Books, the bot Boles Brand. Then we changed it all last week. And we were no longer Boles Books on Twitch. We changed it to Boles TV, without the period, on Twitch. And then we have the domain name Boles.tv to lead you to our homepage on Twitch. So we were thinking, well, Jana TV, that would be fun taken. JMS TV, fun taken. Mama went all around all kinds of circles. And Jana Marie, if she's still around, she may be busy in a meeting right now, her new username is now Jana NYC. Big. NYC. Big. Jana NYC. So, if you see a person saying, hello, I'm Jana NYC, you know who that is. That is the old Jana Books account that has now become Jana NYC. Okay, now we also have a new email address that you can use to contact us directly if you would like to via this live stream. And that email address is david@boles.tv. Email that. Send me some email. I'll respond to you. Let me know what you're thinking. It's all part of the fun that we're having together here in our wonderful live stream. And before we get to discussing some of the oddities in the news, I have some wonderful news to share with you. This is from Jana Marie. She works very hard for this stream, and we have some interesting things coming up from her, where she's going to have her own little stream as part of Boles TV, where it's going to be pure ASL, and it's going to be ASL chat, not going to be lessons. She's going to talk about her life in the world. And if you're learning ASL, or you know some ASL, or you are deaf, you can join in her live stream and chat with her. We're in the process of working on that, and I will share more of that with you when I can. So this is what I want to show you right now. This is the Christmas tree in Washington Square Park in New York City. And Washington Square Park is owned by the city. Now, it's in the heart of NYU, but NYU and the city of New York are very clear. Washington Square Park belongs to the people of New York City. It is not owned, operated, or controlled by NYU. There's a lot of mistakes that people make, thinking that the crime that goes on there, the hustle, the bustle that goes on in Washington Square Park is NYU's fault, and it's not. So this is Jana on a bright, sunny day last week. She said, I'm going to take a picture of this Christmas tree. It has lights on it. You can't see it because they're not turned on. They just set it up that day. So here's a little fun from Jana Marie to share with you right now. It looks like it's in slow motion, but it's not. It's just a gentle breeze. You can see the bird. You can see how they've staked it into the ground to make it stand up. There is the world-famous Washington Square Arch with George Washington himself. Now, isn't that a lovely video? It's a nice camera. And continuing on with our fun with Jana Marie, on the same day, on the Christmas tree day, Jana Marie found a duck in Washington Square Park. What's a duck doing in Washington Square Park? And the answer is the same as why does the sun rise every day? And the answer for everything is because it does. So here's some quick video of a duck visiting Washington Square Park. The duck was with someone. I believe the duck is also wearing booties. And the duck is not on a leash. There are dogs in the park. No one's bothering the duck. Everyone's loving the duck. Now that is a New York City moment if you ever had one. The Washington Square duck. Our next Jana Marie video is really very interesting. This is inside the PATH station at General Square in Jersey City. And every year they have a contest of kids in Jersey City who can draw a poster for the PATH system, the train system. And they celebrate Hanukkah, and they celebrate Happy Holidays, and they celebrate Christmas. And every year we love to look at the drawings the kids make. So this is inside the PATH station. Happy Holidays from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And here are the lovely designs. I believe these are the finalists. Or maybe the big one's the winner and the smaller ones are the finalists. I don't know. But they're all very lovely, talented. The drawings are just amazing. It's wonderful artwork. Wonderful artwork in a public space. It's very beautiful. And the lighted Christmas tree. And the Port Authority police department is right there too. On the job. Now I'm going to share with you my favorite video. Jana shot this video right outside the pass station at Journal Square, near where the fountain is, if you're familiar with the Journal Square area. And there's a Christmas tree. And you're going to see the most fascinating, I don't want to use the word conflict, comparison between an urban, gritty semiotic, that is Jersey City, with the upcoming lifestyle of, some may say, gentrification of what was perhaps a dirty, filthy city that was not rich in substance or in housing. And the joke in many of the groups talking about Jersey City is luxury housing. That's the answer to everything. Build it bigger, build it better. Meanwhile, in this area, this is where the homeless not live, but this is where they kind of hang out all day in and around this fountain area in Journal Square. I don't know why, but they do. So this is just as it was getting dark. The Christmas tree light is on. You can see that the areas around the tree with these dirt boxes have not been filled in yet. And I'll walk you through this, but I want you to show it to you once for the first time, so you can just kind of get the hang of where we are and orient yourself. All right. Now that's really packed with information. The new and the old, the rich and the poor, the immigrant, the resident. It's all there in a 54-second video. So let's look at this, and I'll stop it every once in a while. So this is the tree. You can see big banking right there, Capital One, in that big bank. Lots of traffic, 6 lanes of traffic there on the right. 3 going one way, 3 going the other way. Now these are a memorial for all of the people who in Hudson County, I believe, who died in foreign wars. And they have these well-worn slabs of memorials. It's very nice. And it's getting run down. Maybe they'll replace it and redo it. So more Christmas tree lights. Now right over there beyond the trees, for about 5 years, they've been trying to get a hotel, living residence complex built in that space, owned by KRE. But they've been fighting with the city. They want abatements. And the city said no abatements. And KRE said, we put down $2 million so we could build this, and we want our abatements. And the city said, no, you didn't. And KRE said, yes, we did. And then they fought to get their $2 million back. And I don't know if they got it back or not, but I think it's been resolved. And soonish, maybe they'll start building that big tower, which will be very interesting because it's necessary to have a beautiful hotel complex in Journal Square where the train to Jersey City terminates going into New York. There's no really hotels in the area at all. There's maybe a Ramada Inn a couple of blocks up the street, but it's very small and very tiny and not exactly safe to get to, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But what'll be interesting is when that hotel complex thing is built, then what? Is this area going to remain a safe haven for the homeless? Probably not. And she keeps going around the tree. And slowly coming into view are these two massive apartment buildings. Not the new Twin Towers, but that's what they look like. There's a third building they're building that's going to be on the right. Thank you for the follow. There's a new building they're going to be building on the right, so it's going to be three fingers. As some people say, the three-finger salute, the three-building salute. And there are 500 apartments in one building and 700 apartments in the other building. And the building on the left has been there for about 4 years, and that is where we live. We live in that big white monolith, as I called it. As I do call it. And it's a very interesting complex. So that's Journal Square 1. The second building is uniquely called Journal Square 2. And the third building is going to be called Journal Squared 3. So you have here on the ground homeless people. And 100 yards away, you have two massive buildings of luxury living. And in this area, there are about 5 other projects that are just like those two buildings, that are going up and being very tall and are going to have a lot of people coming into them. Now, can the path system hold up to that kind of scrutiny? Can they add more trains to the path? I don't believe they can, because some of those stops are not long enough to have a longer train than 8 cars. So are they going to run more frequently? I don't know. It's a problem, but nobody seems to care. So she keeps going around. Right there, that building right there, that is path headquarters for the whole thing. So our building looks right down on the path station. Path administration station. And we're going around. This is a fountain that they now have a Christmas tree in. You can see the dollar store right over there. I call it a dollar store, C.H. Martin. And there's a bar over there and all these other wonderful things that are not luxury living. But that doesn't mean luxury people can't use them or enjoy them. They certainly do. Lowe's Theater is right there. World famous Lowe's Theater. Right there, you can see it just to the left of C.H. Martin. And then Jana finishes the video in a very beautiful way. Right there. That's where the homeless go to get fed by volunteers. All day and most nights, somebody is there in that space feeding the homeless. Rice and beans, hamburgers. Then they provide plates and water, and the homeless go there and the homeless eat. And it's a wonderful moment. And Jana captured it right there. So you have these high-rise luxury buildings, right? These luxury buildings where we live, looking down on this. People who have nothing. And that is the conundrum, that is the conflict for a big city. What kind of city do you want to have? Do you want to have a city that includes everybody? A city that is open? A city that welcomes people? Now that's some music. We'll see how loud it is. If we can tolerate it or not. And this is the problem that a lot of these older urban cities have, is they want to move forward. They want to move up in the world. But what are you going to do with people who don't have money? And people who are living in these buildings that you're tearing down so you can build high-rises. And what are you going to do with the homeless who are there and looking for a way out, and they're hungry and they need a place to sleep? And it's all in the shadow of the path administration and the great big high-rises. This music's a little bit loud for me. This is called Dave Seabass. I'm going to write that down. So I can delete it later. Just a little too antsy for the topic we have going on with us right now. But now it's over, so maybe it's not that bad. I guess if I were talking about something fun, that would have been appropriate music. I wish I had a little button I could press that would just move on to the next song, but I don't know how to do that because I don't think it exists easily. But we'll investigate it. And for now, we're going to take a brief blood pressure break, and we will be back momentarily. See you in a moment. And we are back. I'm so glad you're here with us on Boles.tv. Lots of things going on in the news today. Interesting news, we talked about it last week. Chris Cuomo has been fired now from CNN. Last week he was indefinitely suspended, which we all sort of knew was going to come. At least result in probably his firing. Now, where will he go? Will he be back? I don't know. He was always a bit of an odd fellow to me. What else is in the news? Omicron. The new COVID variant is on its way. It's already in New York City, in New York. It's raging, I guess, in South Africa. And they're trying to say, oh, it's not too bad. You know, if you're vaccinated, it'll be okay. Maybe. We don't know yet. It's going to take another couple of weeks before this thing gets ground out of us and into us. But I heard just before we started this live stream that Omicron is now doubling in South Africa at a rate of every 1.5 days. That means every 1.5 days, the people who are infected with Omicron doubles. That's big. All the other variants we've had, including Delta variant, would double every 3 days. So we're doubling twice as fast as with this Omicron variant than we are with Delta, which to me tells me, as a non-scientist but an interested person, that Omicron is stickier and more infectious than what we've so far previously experienced. So be careful out there. I also saw that booster shots in America have gone up 2.2 million since we found out about this Omicron variant. So I guess that's good, but it's unfortunate that people have to be scared into getting a booster shot. And you can hear the sirens in the background. As I say, they're coming to take us away. Bob Dole died. Bob Dole, Bob Dole. Now, if you're a Saturday Night Live fan, you know where that comes from. Bob Dole, Bob Dole. That is the Norm Macdonald impersonation of Bob Dole. Now and Bob did not like that he was being impersonated on Saturday Night Live, and it's sort of interesting that Norm Macdonald died before Bob Dole died at 98 years old. And this is Bob Dole's official webpage, which I find slightly disappointing because it's old and out of date. Now, some might say Bob Dole was old and out of date. But here's what I don't like about it, is you go down here at the bottom, Dole's hometown biography. Okay, well, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. And you clicky, and it's not there. So you go back, you go to the next one. Dole's remarks at the dedication of Dole Institute of Politics at the University of Kansas. Okay, click on that. Huh, that page is missing. And it goes on and on like that. So the Bob Dole website has broken images, broken links, was not updated. Now, Bob Dole was paralyzed in the war, and his right arm was crippled because of his injuries. And some wonder if he, even though it wasn't his fault, was slightly ashamed of that injury because he would always hold a pen in his right hand. Because without the pen, his hand was just a immovable claw. So he thought that by putting a pen in that claw hand, that it looked like his claw hand was holding a pen when it was really just a claw hand. And sometimes he'd put that hand in a pocket in his suit or his coat to hide his hand. And I remember when I was younger, I had a teacher back in the Midwest who had polio as a child. And she had a similar hand that was not movable and was kind of in front of her, and she couldn't use it really for anything. and she would cover it every day in a silk scarf. And the scarf would match her outfit, so she had many of these silk scarves covering her incapacitated hand from polio. And that always made us wonder as kids, I wonder why. I wonder why some people feel that there's a need to cover up who they are and what happened to them. It's not Bob Dole's fault he got shot in the war. It's not our teacher's fault that she had polio as a child. And what if they did? What if they were just born that way? Why cover up a disability? Well, it says that they're embarrassed about that disability. And I very clearly remember a story that Bob Dole told about coming home from the war, being in a full body cast, and he was on the train. And there were other people in the compartment with him who were injured. And these guys would put out their cigarettes in Bob Dole's torso cast. He had a cast all over his torso. And they would smoke their cigarettes and put out the butts in his cast. And telling that story, his face and his emotions, it was very raw. It was very real. And you could tell that that moment defined who he was. And that he was not going to sit back and take that kind of abuse from people who are inconsiderate and unthoughtful and frankly cruel. And so he lived his life the opposite of those people who put out their cigarettes on his cast. He decided to live a life of compassion and involvement, and he was a Republican, and I'm sure he doesn't recognize the GOP his last few years, because it's certainly not what he stood for. And he was a good man, and he was a great man, and he made a difference in a lot of people's lives. So Bob, we thank you for the help and the service that you provided. Next to the news, some personal news. Here we go again. Security is really just theater. Not even in just the United States, but in the world. There's a wonderful service called You've Been Pawned. And you put in your email address, and if you have several email addresses, enter them all into that website. And what that website then does, for free, is it checks to see if your email address has been stolen or revealed from another website. And I get these notifications maybe every 2 weeks, every month or so, and they're always frightening and disappointing. So I just got this email yesterday saying, hey, you've been pawned, friend. Here's what we know about the security breach that revealed your private information. Your email is davidboles.com. The breach, Gravatar. A globally recognized avatar. That's the little pictures you see, like on Boles.com. You go and you see somebody's picture by their comment. That's a Gravatar. Millions and millions and millions of people have Gravatars. Owned by Automatic, which is the parent company of WordPress.com. $1.2 billion company has a security breach. Now here's where it gets really disappointing. The breach happened over a year ago, October 3rd of 2020. And we just found out about it yesterday. Or we, the common folk who were exposed, found out about it yesterday. Well, how many people were included in this security breach by Gravatar? Oh, look, the number of accounts. 113 million. More closely to 114 million. 114 million. And how many of those people know that they've been exposed? I never got an email from Gravatar saying, hey, somebody stole your information. What data was compromised? Email addresses, names, and usernames. Okay, that's important to some people. And this is the description of the event. In October 2020, a security researcher published a technique for scraping large volumes of data from Gravatar, the service for providing globally unique avatars. 167 million names, usernames, and MD5 hashes of email addresses. An MD5 hash is a way of scrambling your username or email address so people can't see it. But if you scramble something, it can be unscrambled. Hashes of email addresses used to reference users' avatars were subsequently scraped and then distributed within the hacking community. 114 million of the MD5 hashes were cracked and distributed alongside the source hash, thus disclosing the original email address and all the accompanying data. And what are you supposed to do with this? Go change your password? I don't know. Gravatar hasn't told us what to do. So I'll make a suggestion to you and what you should do right now. Go to this website. HaveIBeenPwned.com. Have I been pawned is how it's pronounced. And put in your phone number and or your email address, and then do a clicky on it, and it will tell you if your information appears in a hacker database. So I'll do mine right now. I've been pawned all over the place. I've been pawned here and back. David@Boles.com. Map. Oh no, pawned. Map. Start using 1password.com, which I do use. It's really wonderful. Are you ready? Here we go. Here are all the breaches you were pawned in. A breach is an incident where data has been unintentionally exposed to the public. Using the 1Password manager, blah, blah, blah. That's it. Okay, so Apollo. I'm not going to go to Bitly. These are all things that my email address has been compromised. Gravatar. IMJobs. I don't even know what IMJobs is. It's an Indian job portal. Now, see, some people use your email address so they can steal your identity or so they can pretend to be you when applying for jobs. So that's something else you need to be aware of. That's why you should subscribe to not subscribe, it's free. That's why you should set up your email address to get notified if you're worried about people stealing who you are, stealing your reputation. On LinkedIn, I have people who put Boles Books Writing and Publishing as their employer, and I don't know them. MSpy. Monitoring software known as MSpy. I don't even know what that is. I've never used MSpy for anything. River City Media Spam List. I don't even know where River City is. River City Media, I have no idea. Verifications.io. An email address validation service. Verifications.io suffered a data breach. I have no idea what that is. I've never used that. Now, maybe we're using services that use these as intermediaries to validate email addresses. I don't know. I'm just sitting here. Zynga. In September, the game developer Zynga, creator of Words with Friends, suffered a data breach. I've never played Words with Friends. The incident exposed 173 million unique addresses. Okay, so if you want to have a bad day, go to Have I Been Pawned and type in your email address and phone number. Let's try another email address. This get all wiped out even more. Oh no, I've been pawned. David at Boles University too. Oh, here we go. Apollo again, same thing. Verifications.io. Again, I don't even know what it is. Adapt. That's a new one. Okay, what's that? Fresh Quality Contacts. I don't even know what it is. Adobe. Now that I know. Adobe and I are close. I spend a lot of money with Adobe. Adobe gets my money every month. That's disturbing. I believe I do remember getting notified about that one. And a change your email address. Cafe Press. Ooh. Now this I really don't even know about. Now we haven't been a customer of Cafe Press for probably 15 years. Cafe Press was our original merch store place. And they did nice stuff. And then we decided we didn't really need a merch store. Now we have a new merch store that we talked about earlier in this stream. Cafe Press. Data enrichment exposure from PDL customer. I have no idea what that even means. Identify an unprotected Elasticsearch server holding 1.2 billion records of personal information. They don't even tell us what to do. Compromised data. Email addresses, employers, geographic locations, job titles, names, phone numbers, and social media profiles. Okay, I have no idea. Discus? A blog commenting service, Discus? I've never used Discus. I don't like Discus. Somebody must have used my email address. Evite? That I think I have used, but I don't remember ever being notified by Evite that my information was exposed. LinkedIn, yeah, they've had a lot of problems, from what I remember. They do send you emails and say, you know, we have a little bit of problem. Why don't you go change your password? So whenever LinkedIn says change your password, I go change my password. In May, this is a bad one. In May 2016, LinkedIn had 164 million email addresses and passwords exposed, originally hacked 4 years earlier. The data remained out of sight until being offered for sale on a dark market site 4 years later. Yeah, great. The breach. The passwords in the breach were stored in a SHA-1 hash without being salted, which is bad, the vast majority of which were quickly cracked in the days following the release of the data. MySpace. Remember MySpace? I didn't even know it was still around. They suffered a data breach in 2008. 8 years later, the data was offered up for sale. So how do you even deal with that? 8 years, people are using your information and know things about you, and you don't even know who they are, what they're doing. Onliner spam bot. Well, that's interesting. I have no idea what that means. A spam bot by the name of Onliner spam bot was identified by users. The malicious software contained a server-side based component located on an IP address in the Netherlands, which exposed a large number of files containing personal information. I don't even know what it is. A spam bot? I guess people use valid email addresses to send spam in your name. In the early days, when that spam would get delivered, you'd get a reply from people saying, "Why are you sending me this spam?" And you used to reply, "It's not me, it's the spam bot." And they'd say, "No, it's not, it's you because you're replying to me." So very quickly you learn, don't answer. Tumblr. In early 2013, that's another automatic company, Tumblr server suffered a data breach, which resulted in the exposure of 65 million accounts. So that's the good news for the day. Nobody's safe. Don't think you're safe because you're not safe. And on a final but harrowing note, have you seen this? It's just the saddest thing you've ever seen in America. These are members of the Patriot Front, wearing white masks to hide their faces, sunglasses to hide their eyes, yet they're very proud. White power proud. Masking their faces to do a march on Washington. Doing the jackbooted walk, the Lincoln Memorial on the Mall in Washington, D.C. This is what freedom in America looks like. Jackbooted and covered up. that's the kind of America we have now, and I guess you get the kind of country that you put up with. And is there outrage about this? Has this been on the conservative channels, on the liberal channels? Has anyone come together as a whole, as middle America, saying, we don't want that? We don't need that kind of junk in our face? And there are conversations going on about this kind of thing. What are we going to do about it? How do we handle this? This is the conversation. So people are having a conversation, but is a conversation enough, or do we need to do something? They take up a gun? What do we take up? We go march on Washington? There's the KKK marching on Washington. There they are with their knee pads. Now I say, if you're full of this kind of power, if you're a patriot, why not show your face? Why not be associated with that in which you are supporting? So there we go. Life in America. The sound of American freedom. On the Mall in Washington, D.C., where the tourists go to learn about American history and celebrate America. With the gunshot drummer. And they're reclaiming America. Reclaiming America from what exactly? From who exactly are they reclaiming America? Now that's an interesting question. What do you mean by that? Reclaiming it from what? From who? What are you claiming is stolen from you that you have to take it back? So that's America this weekend in Washington, D.C. And here's a lovely quote. The Holocaust did not begin with mass killings. It began with the rhetoric of hate. And there we are. Life in America. People so proud of their associations and their behaviors that they hide behind a mask and an outfit. They wear knee pads and carry a flag. But they don't want you to know who they are. That has to remain a secret. That's protected. That's not for you to know, but for you to find out. And with that, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in a moment. you. I appreciate your time and your attention today. Well, in the first hour, we had a conversation, interesting conversation, about urban renewal, luxury housing, the homeless, the dollar store next to the empire of Journal Squared 1 and 2. And this idea of intimacy and living together and apart in a community is one that holds a fascination for me as someone who came from a relatively small town in the Midwest and then moved on up to the big city, New York City. And that leads us into this next conversation, which is another difficult topic. Over the weekend, there was another killing of a Columbia student, 30 years old, stabbed at 123rd Street in Amsterdam. Now, Columbia University has in Morningside Heights is the neighborhood. On one side, there's Amsterdam, which is kind of the bad street. The other side is Broadway, which is the good street. And then Columbia is kind of in that block in the middle of those two streets and avenues. Davide Giri, a 6-year doctoral student in the School of Engineering and Applied Science, died following a stabbing that occurred near 123rd Street in Amsterdam Avenue on Thursday around 11 p.m. Now, what's alarming about this is he is a 6-year doctoral student. He's at 123rd in Amsterdam at 11 o'clock at night. Now, some people say, hey, there you go. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He should know better. And during the investigation into Giri's murder, police discovered a second victim. A 27-year-old man with stab wounds near West 110th Street and Cathedral Parkway. He was taken to the hospital in stable condition. And the police found the suspect within the area of West 104th Street in Central Park West, threatening a third individual in Central Park with a knife. The suspect was later identified as Vincent Pinkney, a 25-year-old Harlem resident. Pinkney was accused and charged with murder, attempted murder, assault, attempted assault, and 3 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. Now, this murder reflects an earlier murder. The murder of Tessa Majors, 18 years old, student at Barnard, which is sister college to Columbia University. This happened 2 years ago, 2019. Tessa Majors, a Barnard first year, died following a stabbing at West 116th Street in Morningside Drive in Morningside Park Wednesday night. And if you don't remember, here is the terrible reminiscence of what happened to her. According to police, a group of suspects approached Majors and demanded her property before stabbing her several times. Officers responded to a 911 call from a security guard at 5:36 p.m. and arrived to find Majors unconscious with multiple stab wounds. Despite conflicting reports, Columbia clarified that the public safety officer stationed at 116th Street and Morningside Drive was at his post when the incident occurred and came to Major's aid upon recognizing that she was hurt. So within 2 years, you have 2 bloody, vicious stabbings in and around Columbia University in the city of New York. And these deaths have led to an interesting and compelling conversation. And the conversation revolves around this idea of being safe and being woke and being politically correct and of towing the line of not appearing to be racially or culturally prejudiced. Everyone is treated equally. And all of that is fine in the theory of the classroom. But as those of us who live real lives know, that theory doesn't always translate well into the real world. And that is what we're dealing with now in these deaths of these two people. There used to be a time when you were a student at Columbia University where the university itself, and if not the university, your instructors and your classmates, would give you the lowdown. And the lowdown is not just limited to Columbia University. It's New York University, it's Lincoln, Nebraska, it's Sacramento, California, it's Kansas City, Missouri. It's anywhere you live in a big, culturally diverse city with pockets of poverty and other pockets of richness in conflict in the same community. And at Columbia, I was warned, as were my classmates, look, we know that you're all from different places. You're not all from New York City. You have to be street smart and you have to be aware of your surroundings. What does that mean? Well, don't go to Morningside Park after dark. It's a big, sprawling, beautiful park with lots of people in it. And the people who are there are not necessarily like you. They're to stroll and have a wonderful time. They're there looking for trouble. They're there looking for drug money. They are there selling drugs. Don't put yourself in the situation of being in that park after dark, because nothing good happens after the sun goes down. That's just a common understanding that the police will tell you, that your parents will tell you, that your friends will tell you. Nothing good happens when the sun goes down. And a lot of that's because of identity and stealthiness, and bad things can happen in the dark, and sometimes people don't see them. Also, when I was a student at Columbia, there was this idea that be wary of going above 125th Street. 125th Street was the boundary between the safe neighborhood of Columbia and then the above neighborhood of Harlem, where things changed, especially if you're a lily white boy from Nebraska, which I will explain in just a moment. I will go more into depth on that. But that was the warning. Look, Columbia University is at 116th and Broadway, and you go 9 streets up the street, and everything changes. The demarcation line is 125th Street, the beginning of Harlem. Don't go there at night. Columbia kids tend to be well-connected, have a lot of money, they have nice clothing. And if you don't fit in, if you stand out at night, or even at 5:30, it's in the park with Tessa Majors, people are going to watch you. They watch how you dress, they watch how you behave. They study behavior. It's in science, in animal science to them. Not that they're animals, but that you are an animal. An animal that is vulnerable, and an animal who might not be able to escape. And the other side of the coin was beware of Amsterdam Avenue. There are lots of nice things on that avenue, but know where you're going, go with somebody, and don't go too high, which meant don't go much higher than 116th, 117th Street. Because the neighborhood begins to change and there are dangers. And when I was at Columbia, if you were a student, male or female, and it was at night, and you wanted to go to your dorm or walk to your apartment nearby, there was a special phone number you could call, and you could get help. And someone would come over and walk you home. I think it was a couple of people. So there'd be 3 of you all together walking together, and people really don't mess with you if you're with a group. But if you're young and cute and small, and you look vulnerable and delicious, then you're more of a mark. So those were the warnings given to you. And even growing up in the Midwest, don't go into this area. That's a bad neighborhood. They don't want you there. Okay? Well, in the last 5-10 years, we've had a change in America where talking about race and culture and economics and safety is much more touchy than it used to be. As we saw in that video, we have white power people marching on the malls. Restore America. What does that mean? Well, we know what it means. And so at Columbia, where they used to have these formal and informal warning sessions, don't go here, don't go there, look at what time it is, don't walk through that park. Now they don't do it because you're being culturally insensitive. You are economically discriminating against the park and against those who live above 125th Street and on Amsterdam Avenue. So we, as Columbia University, a liberal megacenter of thought and deconstruction of norms, will not tell you anymore, don't go there. If you're going to cross that street, make a phone call, bring a couple of people with you. Because that looks bad. That doesn't look progressive. That doesn't look liberal enough. So if people don't have the information they need to stay safe, if people have never been told, don't go into that park after dark, if you're young and vulnerable, or you don't know how to take care of yourself, don't go there. And some people think that they are invulnerable. That's the mark of the young mind. Nothing can kill me. I'm young. Until something terrible happens. That's why you need sources of authority to make these recommendations. Don't go there. You should not go there. And then your friends get that message, and your friends say, don't go there. Go this way. Go that way. Go around that street and come here. Now, there are some instructors at Columbia University who've been there for a long time. I won't name them. Who do, especially with their freshman classes, say, right at the beginning, look, you're in New York. It's a different place from where you're probably from. Be careful. Be careful of this area. Don't go there alone. Don't go here alone. And you worry about this graduate student who'd been there for 6 years, and no one had told him, hey, don't have soccer practice at 11 o'clock at night and walk home from 123rd Street and Amsterdam Avenue. You are asking for trouble. You are looking for pain. Because people look at you in the neighborhood. He doesn't fit in here. He's not from around here. He's not even aware that we're following him. Now, sure, you have crazy people on the train with knives yelling, but in the case of Tessa, these were young men who were very determined to get whatever she had. I believe they wanted her iPhone, and she gave it to them, and then they stabbed her anyway. So I think we need to be a little more aware and maybe a little less woke in some of these situations and be honest with people and say, you can't go here, you can't do that because it's not safe, because you don't fit in. Oh, that's racist. Oh, that's not fair. Well, I can tell you, where we live in Jersey City, our building is very safe, but you start wandering out Journal Square at night, in that fountain, the homeless are there, there's drug dealing up the street, and you got to be careful where you walk. You got to be careful with whom you associate with. And you walk with confidence, and you try to dress down, and you try to fit in the neighborhood. And that's important, because I've been told you don't fit at our old place in Jersey City. In the Heights, our super said, be careful around here. You don't fit. And I said, what do you mean I don't fit? You don't fit. And not talking about skin color, talking about attitude, way you walk. And while we lived in that apartment for 17 years, and right across the street, 30 feet away, there was a murder. 4th of July. Somebody shot dead right there. They turned the gun from this way, shooting the person just this much, and shot, would have gone right through our living room window. But that's the risk you take. In a big city, in a small town, it doesn't matter. You have to know if you fit or not and what you're going to do about it. So this all horribleness reminded me of a story that I wrote several years ago that I'll share with you now. And the story is this, called Lucky in Harlem, published in 2006. And I'll tell you the story. You can go check it out on bolesblogs.com. But I'll tell you the story briefly so you know what it is. Jan and I had moved to New York City. We had both come from the Midwest. I came from Lincoln, Nebraska. She came from Council Bluffs, Oklahoma. And we lived for about 8 months in Washington, D.C. before we came to New York City. We had rented a Penske van, and we loaded all the few possessions we had, and we drove up from D.C. And we arrived in D.C., and we were going down Riverside Drive the wrong way on a one-way street. And luckily, we did not get into an accident. But we were both very tired, very worn out, and it was dark. So we unloaded the truck in our new apartment that we were subletting for the summer. And we had returned the truck that night, or we were going to be charged for another day. I think that was $180 a day for this truck. And we didn't have the money. So we went to the nearest, I think it was U-Haul Penske place, 125th Street in Harlem. And this was 20 years ago. And so we drove up there, returned the truck on time, great. And we knew 125th Street, from what we had been kind of told, was the beginning of where people like you don't really fit. Be careful, because it's starting to gentrify, and people are upset that their brownstones in Harlem are being purchased by white yuppies, is what they were called at that time. So just be aware of your surroundings. Okay, we're tough. So Janet was wearing shorts. It was very hot. It was, I believe, August. And I was wearing a Washington Redskins t-shirt, neon yellow shorts, a Nebraska trucker hat, and Converse tennis shoes. I could not have dressed more horribly to not fit in than I was dressed that night. So we returned the truck and said, hey, we gotta get it back to Columbia University where we're subletting a dorm. Where is it? The guy said, it's just up the street, go that way, you can walk. I said, oh, we're gonna have to take the subway? A taxi? And the guy laughed and said, no, just walk. It's down to 116th Street. Okay. So we left. And we're walking on 125th Street. We had to go this way and then turn and go down. And somehow we got turned around and we were walking this way. And it's very dark. And the street life is active. And there's Jana, a very sweet young woman from the Midwest, in her beautiful shorts, and me in my neon yellow shorts and my Washington Redskin top, walking together on 125th Street in the wrong direction. And we're walking and walking and walking and walking, and I'm looking around, and Jana's looking around, and I say, I gotta be calm because people are watching us. I gotta look like I fit in. And she said, where is Columbia? I said, it's right up here. It's not that far. We didn't have a map or anything. We didn't have anything. I don't even think we had our wallets with us, our money with us. We had nothing. We thought we were returning and going back. So we're walking for like half an hour, looking around, trying to get a landmark. And she said, Janice said, why don't you just go into one of these stores and ask for help? Just find out where Columbia University is. I said, I can't go to this store like this. They're going to laugh at me. Oh, you're Columbia University, huh? Oh. So I said, look, it's just up here. We just keep walking. It'll be fine. So we're walking and walking and walking and walking. And Janice said, I think we're lost. And it's the classic stereotypical male jerk. Lost? I don't need a map. I have an inherent sense of where we are. I drove up here from Columbia University. We went to the Penske Bay. I know where we are. We're almost there. Keep walking. And another couple of blocks, Janice said, I'm going to go in there and ask for help. I said, we can't. And so we just kind of both were scared and not knowing, but if we keep walking, we're going to find something that we recognize and we're going to be safe. So we're walking on 125th Street, and finally we end up at this intersection. And it looks like a highway to us, or an interstate from where we came from. And there's a big bridge, and cars are going back and forth, and you can't even cross the street. So the street that we're on, all we can do is turn around and go back. And walk for another 45 minutes in the opposite direction, which would have eventually taken us back where we need to go. But we didn't know that. So the two of us are standing there on the street corner. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her, and I don't know what to do. And she wants to go ask someone for directions, and I'm in my Washington Redskins shirt and my neon yellow shorts, and she's in her shorts with flip-flops. And we must have looked like a prime target. Very vulnerable. And then out of nowhere, this guy approached us, and he was black and very big, and he had a very nice smile on his face. And he came up to us like he knew us, right? Because people are watching. And he shook our hand, said, hey, how you doing? And we're from the Midwest, so we shake hands. And then very quietly he said, are you guys lost? And it was Jana who had the bravery to say, yes, we're lost. And I just kind of nodded my head. So this guy said, okay, I'll help you, hang on. And he went into the street, and he flagged down a taxi. Taxi pulls over. And he opened the door for us. He said, get in. And the guy took $20 out of his wallet and gave it to the taxi driver. And he said, take them to Columbia University. Because we had told him that's what we're trying to find. He said, you're going in the wrong direction. It's 45 minutes that way walking. You're nowhere near Columbia University. He said, look where you are. This is not a safe place for you. So that's when he got us the taxi, put us in there, gave the taxi driver $20, said, take them to Columbia University. And the taxi driver looked back and looked at us and nodded his head and said, okay. And instantly we were gone. I didn't even thank the guy. I was just numb. 45 minutes in the wrong direction. That's embarrassing. That hurts my stupid male ego. And I don't know what his name was. I don't know who he was. But that night we were saved from ourselves. I was saved from myself. Janet was not in trouble. She knew what to do. I didn't know what to do. And the cab driver drove us a long time and took us to Columbia University, and we knew where we were. We got out of the cab, and we said, you know, he said, don't worry about money. Go, just go. And we returned safely home to our sublet apartment. And I often think about that night, and I think, what if that nice guy had come up and asked us if we were lost? And I hope that we would have been fine. We would have finally found our way home, but I don't think we could have walked it. We were pretty tired. It had been a very long day, driving up from D.C., unpacking, taking back the stupid U-Haul, and walking for 45 minutes in the wrong direction. So that's a story that always gets me, because it was such a kind gesture that you can really never repay. You can try to pay it forward to help someone else, and we have always tried to do our best to help other people. So here's the full story of what I just told you. Written probably maybe a little bit less emotionally. But it still has meaning. And that was written in 2006. And here's an article I wrote in 1997, which is about 6 years after I graduated from Columbia University. I wrote this as sort of a guide for people coming to New York City on how to fit in, because we had people coming from the Midwest who would come. And we learned a lot of lessons that we started that first night, lucky in Harlem. Or we were saved by an anonymous person who stepped forward and got us home. And this tells you how to survive. Where you live, we live in Alphabet City. Alphabet City is bound by here and here and here and here. What to wear in New York City. One of the first things we learned when we moved to New York was how to dress. Don't wear a Washington Redskins shirt and neon yellow shorts if you want to fit in. The idea is not to dress like a tourist. And for us, that means no Midwestern clothes. Don't wear a dress or a skirt if you're a woman. If you're a man, wear jeans, not dress pants. Now, these are probably not progressive ideas, and I'm sure I'd be told that's culturally insensitive. A woman can wear a dress if she wants to. Sure, she can. She can wear a dress if she wants to, but if she wants to fit in and not be noticed, there are certain things you have to do in the big city. In New York City, you fit in by wearing dark clothes. Oh no, I wear pink shirts. Okay, go ahead. There's a jacket that I used to wear. It was an expensive jacket, but it fit in because it wasn't tan, it was dark black. Do not wear white sneakers. Sounds ridiculous, right? People like black in New York. You want to fit in, you want to look like you belong when you're a tourist. Don't look like a tourist. Wearing sunglasses is good because if you're nervous about if people are looking at you, if they're watching you, you can hide behind your sunglasses. How to behave? There's always someone out there who wants to be uglier than they already are. Keep your money in your sock. Use 2 wallets. One with money, one with just a couple of dollars in it. So if someone says, give me your wallet, you give them the fake wallet. Are you being followed? Turn around and look the person in the eye. Let them know you see them. That's very effective. And people sometimes do follow you, or they try to make eye contact with you. So you can make eye contact back without being aggressive. You can just look at them so they know you're looking at them. Scared people, people who are afraid of getting mugged, try to pretend they're not there. They try to disappear into themselves. Oh, I won't look at you. Oh, you won't look at me? Well, I'm going to look at you. Yell fire if you're in trouble. Don't say help, I need help. People won't assist you. If you yell the building's on fire, then people are self-interested. Oh no, your building's on fire, maybe my building's on fire. They respond to yelling fire. They don't respond to call the police. Make eye contact with a stranger if you're in trouble. People don't want to step forward and help all the time. New York is very good about helping. But if you really need help, you've got to make eye contact with somebody on the street that you don't know and say, I need help. And they will help you. Trust your gut. Prepare for the worst. Keep an eye out for hospitals, firehouses, cops on foot patrol. If someone stabs me or shoots me, I need to know where I need to go to get myself help in a hurry. And those are my tips for visiting New York City. You can read it right now on bolesblogs.com. A shooting in New York. Survival tips for the wary. And with that, my friend, we're going to take a brief break. Back in a moment. back from break. Thank you so much for being here. David Boles with you, Boles.tv. Well, it's been a wild stream today. And now we're going to do something a little bit fun. And maybe a little bit bizarre. Oh yes, it's that time again. Not Bobby Fischer chess. I know. I deserve it. I'm going to try my best today to do well. It's been a challenge, but I'll figure it out. And so we're going to try our very best to do the chess.com puzzle of the day. But I need my audience friends to help me. So let me see, where am I here with this? Oh, it must be these people. Okay. Thank you very much. That's my ding sound, where I get a big idea to do something good. But this looks very complicated today. Black to move. The pawn that lacked hind sight. Okay, now these puzzles are usually offensive, but lately they've been defensive. So that concerns me just a little bit. Now, the pawn that lacked hindsight makes me think that there's something that happens behind a pawn, or a pawn that moves and gets en passanted or something. Black to move. And we know this is a pawn puzzle because it tells you right there on the title. And I'm not sure what to do about it. But let's look at the puzzle. There's so many things to move. I don't even know. I sort of like the idea of moving this pawn up to here, and then either taking or taking. But I don't know if that's acceptable or not. But I could try it, and it's not the right move. Oh, I hate when that happens. So it's not a bishop move, because that doesn't get me anything. It can't be that. This pawn is stuck. This pawn could move. Oh, no. This pawn could move this way, but that doesn't do anything. This pawn could go 2 up. That doesn't get me anything. I don't think it's on this side. This rook can't really do anything. Queen. Very stuck. This pawn can't move. This rook is not helping. Well, it looks like nothing's possible. I do sort of like... Oh gosh, never mind. I was going to say, put this bishop here to go after the rook, but then the queen would just take. That's not the answer. Oh, it's getting dusty. Thank you. Someone's laughing at my jokes. I appreciate that. It's a hard thing to try to figure out. I'll tell you that right now. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think it's a queen move, because if the queen goes here, then the pawn takes here. If the queen goes here, then the rook takes the queen. It just can't be a queen move. So what move is it? The pawn that lacked hindsight. Now, is that my pawn or a white pawn? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Now, these puzzles are supposed to be start the week easy and get harder as the week progresses. Now, this is Monday. This has got to be the start of the work week. A new week. It's not this, right? No. It's not this, right? No. Okay, this is getting really repetitive. Mm-hmm. The pawn that lacked hindsight. I want to say it's that they're referring to the white pawn, not my pawn. Which is probably a clue in some way. But how? Well, I think I gotta get a hint. I hate getting a hint, but I don't think I have a choice. So it's a rook move, eh? What, the rook takes the knight? Well, now, and then this pawn would take, right? Whoops. This pawn would take. Now that's a pawn move with insight. Oh, and then my queen would take the pawn, yeah? And then my queen would have a line on the king. That's interesting. So I would be swapping a rook for a knight, which is what I don't want to do, but that's why they're probably making me try to do it. So let's see what happens. I will take the knight. That was the right answer. Okay, so then my queen has to go here, right? And that puts the king in check. And then what happens? The king moves. So the king could move, or the rook could come up, or the queen could even come up. But if the queen comes up, then I take. Probably move the pawn up, and then I have to figure out if I want to take the pawn, but then the pawn would be taken, but then the rook would take me. But I know that's got to be the right move, is the queen to take the pawn. It has to be. Okay, right, so the pawn moves up. That's the block. Okay, that's fair. I understand. So that means I would likely have to do this. Meow. That pawn takes that pawn, which is good. And then that bishop would take my pawn, yeah, which is good for them. And I can't take that bishop with my queen, but I could take it with my other bishop. Oh, this is getting interesting. Sometimes hints are helpful. So I'm going to do it. Hello. Oh! Now, why is that not right? Because they want me to sacrifice my queen, probably. So if the queen goes here, bishop takes, or rook takes. I take, bishop or rook takes, bishop takes, check again. Queen comes forward. I take the pawn. Rook comes up. I guess I could take the rook. Well, I think it is a queen move, because they love, in these puzzles, for you to sacrifice your queen. No! Oh my gosh. Now I'm confused. Huh. They don't want me to move my queen. Well, that's very confusing. Maybe they want my queen to move here. Queen to move here. I don't know where that would get me. I'll try it. Huh. Solved? That doesn't make any sense to me. But what do I know? Let's look at Saturday's puzzle. White to move. Attractive obstruction. I don't understand why that other one was about a pawn. Didn't make any sense to me. But I see what they mean about obstruction, because all these pawns are they're immovable. Huh. And the queen isn't going anywhere. Is the pawn move? No. Do I take it away tonight? No. Okay. Gotta get a hint. These are too hard. I used to be so much smarter than this. Okay. So it's a rook move, but where? To do what? This I do not understand. Here? Huh. Isn't that crazy? I find that just crazy. I find that to be crazy. Well, then I would move this rook down here. No. No. Oh my. Gotta get another hint. Queen move? Where? Oh my goodness. And then this? Oh, it's just ridiculous. So easy. Well, that's what happens when you're just not paying attention. I get nervous on the live stream, but nobody cares. Levy's birthday bashing the defenses. Oh, who cares? White to move. It's very confusing, I do admit. Here? No. Oh, this is just awful. Let's get a hint. It's a queen move. See? You want to put the queen in danger. Oh. No. Queen move to where? Here? No. 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 Okay. This is just ridiculous. Hint. Move where? Well, now I just have to get the whole hint. Move. Just move it. I thought I did that one, didn't I? No. Get another hint. It is a bishop move. Okay. Oh, here. Put him in check. They love the king in check. And then go here. Yeah. And then there. Which is what I thought in the first place. And I just didn't do it. And then this way. No! Oh. I thought I had it. Now this is getting interesting. I thought I had this figured out. Even though I'm very terrible. Well, I get I could move the knight here and put the king in check, but then what happens? Then the king moves. And then here. Okay, that's what it is. Well, that was painful. 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 That's our life story. But we had a wonderful stream today. Talked about a lot of interesting things. Gentrification. Killing, murders, fitting in, being woke, the danger of being woke, the dangers of not being woke enough. And we had some wonderful Christmas trees from Jana Marie, and we had some wonderful insights into the human condition. Don't forget to visit our new merch store, bolesbuy.com. Jana Books is now Jana NYC. The Boles brand bot is now Boles Bot. And if you have a question, you can find me, David, at Boles.tv, on Twitter at David Boles, Facebook, Boles, Instagram, Boles Books. We had a wonderful time with you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on Boles.tv. Thank you so much for joining us.